Hello. I have not done frequent videos, but I think I might do more vlog-like videos because it might encourage me to do more frequent videos, but I cannot give promises because I never want to do a video like all the time because most of the time I do not look good. I mean, even now I just don't look good. But I did finish reading An Evil Hour, and I wanted to talk about it very briefly because I don't have a lot of things to say. But yeah, let's get into it. I thought it would be funny to have this little mic. I bought this little microphone. But anyways, so I read An Evil Hour by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and this is like an older edition. I think this was this is the first edition where they translated it into English for mass market. So basically, it is about a Colombian town that is plagued by mysterious lampoons, which are posters that spread rumors about the town's most prospective citizens. Overnight, the rainy tranquility of a village becomes a smoldering chaos of scandal, deceit, and murder. I'll be honest, I truthfully did not understand this book. And a friend of mine is reading this book as well, and she says the same thing. It's not that... Here's the thing. When I say I don't understand this book, it's not that I don't understand what's going on. When I read the book and the things that are going on in it, I can understand it. But when I think about it in an entirety as the story itself, like considering the whole story itself, it is kind of confusing. It's like, what's the purpose here? Like, what are we supposed to get out of this by reading this? Not to say like every story has some sort of like extreme, like a moral purpose or anything like that. But considering the subject of this book being about rumors and, distrust of people, I thought maybe there would be some kind of moral lesson to this book. But yeah, I mean, every book is not required to have some sort of lesson. So, when I was discussing it with my friend, even thinking about it on my own, I thought maybe this is a book that's about like a slice of life sort of book. Like you're kind of getting a glimpse into how this town and these people are dealing with these gossips. And what's interesting is that the lampoons or the posters that whoever put up in the town aren't really discussed either. Like they don't really detail what any of the posters say either. My friend also looked it up saying that, like this is supposed to be some sort of, commentary on the political and military presence in Latin American towns, maybe specifically Colombian towns. So again, it could be a cultural disconnect, a historical or cultural disconnect that caused me and my friend not to really understand this in entirety. So this will definitely be on the reread list. There are certain books I will reread. Another book being Antony and Cleopatra, which is not really a book, it's a play by William Shakespeare. I read it like a year or 2 years ago, and I wanted to reread it mainly because the version I read was the Oxford Shakespeare version. So they have different editions of the book, and the Oxford Shakespeare version is like it's like a version where they have like the annotations, they have like the historical context. So it's more kind of like a teaching version of the play rather than just like giving you the play outright. So I wanted to reread it just to understand everything, because I really want to understand that sort of English more, that older English, because I've read like, obviously, like I have No Fear of Shakespeare books where you get the English, modern English, and then you get the older English. So, I really wanted to read the older English outright just to see, just to help my understanding, because I'm boring like that. But yeah, so I would say this is not a bad book, so to speak, but I think there is a sort of disconnect with me personally into the understanding of this book, which definitely requires a reread. Also, again, the beautiful cover, very beautiful cover. But yeah, I think that's the disconnect. I do have more editions of not this specific book, but of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's books, as well as other Latin American authors, which I mentioned in like a little YouTube short. So it's like basically, I have 100 Years of Solitude. I have Autumn of the Patriarch. I have other books by Jorge Amado. So I will be looking into it. But let me try to find the book. It's right behind me. So the book that I'm reading now, the new read, is In Patagonia by Bruce Chatwin. This doesn't really have a synopsis that I can give. I think the synopsis is on Goodreads if you really want to look it up. But this kind of just goes into the book of a nameless narrator. I believe it's in first person. But basically this narrator is not really named or discussed. It just kind of goes into the narrator's fascination with Patagonia, why they wanted to go. And so it just talks about their exploration of Patagonia and that area of Chile and Argentina, because I believe it's split between Chile and Argentina. I've always found Patagonia fascinating ever since I saw this like post where somebody said they were stranded in Patagonia during the pandemic and they took photos of it. And I just thought it was very beautiful. So I wanted to get a book about it, and I found this fictional book. So, I mean, I don't know if it's fictional, but I'm assuming it is. And so it was, so far it's very interesting. This person really kind of goes, not in depth with the history, but it's just like all these different people that they come across, they kind of describe their history of Patagonia, how they came there, how they met them. Like, so it's kind of like you're reading like somebody's travel journal in a way. So far I don't have any like pros and cons with it. I think, again, like, since this is a book I've just started reading, I would need to read all of it to really form a cohesive opinion. But I did think it was very interesting that it's kind of set up like a travel journal, and it's very interesting reading books like that. I think there was another book I read like that, which wasn't really a travel sort of journal, but like the way it was written, it was kind of like sections, like the narrator sectioned it off to notebooks that he kept. And so it was about a kid who climbed Mount Everest. His name, and the book's name is Peak. It was really a book geared towards young, like, I don't want to say kids or young adults, but kind of like tweens, because I think it was marketed for like teenagers. But I've always loved the story. I read it as I would reread it all the time. And it also reading this reminded me of that as well. Of course, the narrator in that book is a lot more, it's a real character, but it is also, supposedly the writing of the book is him writing in these journals, kind of accounting like what he's done, where he's climbed, what's going on in his life, etc. But this is kind of just like the author's nameless, and it's mainly focusing on, the narrator is nameless, and it's mainly focusing on who the narrator meets, what the narrator sees. So I feel like it's definitely a way to try to more so put its focus to Patagonia itself and the people who live in the area, rather than, what the narrator is looking for. I think it's more so to shine a light on the fascination of the narrator, shine a light on the narrator's fascination with Patagonia. So, yeah, I will have to read. I've been slow reading per usual. I'm a slow reader, so that's why I thought about making vlogs. My life isn't particularly interesting. But, I thought about making vlogs because, like, there's more interest to me than obviously the books and the movies. And, I've been trying to get on my gym stuff. I'm really bad at being consistent, but I think being more active has helped me. And then also I do a lot of stationery, and I love stationery so much. And I literally spent so much money on buying stickers, but I bought them from Temu, so I fear that's better than buying them from a stationery stuff. Anybody who's into stationery knows stationery is very expensive. So yeah. But yeah, that's how it's been so far. Hopefully I will finish In Patagonia. I'm trying to finish 2 books a month, but it is already the 20th and I haven't finished this. This is 300 pages. I think I've already read like 50 or so. I feel like I can read quickly, but I just choose not to. Because for some reason, I can't do stuff unless I'm like really, like my heart is into it, like at that moment. It's very stupid. But I am working on it. But yeah, I guess like For In Evil Hour, I did like 3 stars on Goodreads. I thought it was interesting, but I feel like, yeah, there's definitely like a cultural or some sort of disconnect for me personally, because also like I don't really know the cultural background of Colombia during this time period. I'm assuming this book was written in the 1940s, 50s, or 60s. I'm not sure. So I would have to really look in the background and kind of, because I'm assuming it's that, and I'm also assuming I think maybe, I haven't really read any other Gabriel Marquez's works. I do plan to read 100 Years of Solitude, which is his most famous book, and I feel like since it's its most famous worldwide, it may have at least, maybe for me, it may have a little bit more understanding than the specific book. So again, I will also do some research on this book as well, to see if my understanding will go beyond that. But do I not recommend it? No. I feel like in general, I've been reading books like these. I don't know if this is technically a world author. I think he may be British. I don't know. But a lot of American literature, American English, like if you're taking English classes in America, like K through 12, it's very Eurocentric. Like you're going to focus on European authors, specifically from Britain and like the UK, and you're going to focus on American literature authors. So like you don't really get, especially during the K through 12, you don't really get that exposure to world authors like Gabriel Garcia Marquez unless you like go to college and you take a specific class that focuses on world literature. Then yeah, so that's why like lately I've just been doing my own research into finding these sorts of authors. So I do have a lot of books by Latin American authors, and I have some classic like Chinese literature books, as well as authors from like modern Japanese authors and also classic Japanese authors. So I've just been looking, because like again, like America is very Eurocentric, so it's very tough to branch out unless you do like strict like actual research on like, okay, like this is the type of book I want to read, and I want to explore authors of this country and stuff like that. So, and also it's been great because these are mass market paperbacks, so even though this is old, it may be a little bit hard to find since it's mass market. Like I've seen books like these all across the country where I've gone to used bookstores. Fortunately, they vary in price. Like sometimes I'd find some for like $10, or like some people would be selling it for $2. So yeah. But yeah, that is the update so far. Have I learned how to edit any of these videos? Absolutely not. But it's because, what do I do in these videos? I just sit and talk. That's all I do. I sit and talk. I don't think there's much editing required there. But with my blogs, I will edit. Because I do edit them on TikTok. On TikTok, it's a little less, intimidating, because more people want shorter videos, I feel. So like, it's easy to be like, oh, let me cut this. So I think, yeah, so it's less intimidating. But also, I thought I linked my TikTok here. I did not, so I will link that. But yes, so far so good. And I hope to do some movie reviews as well. I want to use images from the movie, but I don't know if I'm going to get hit with copyright. Who knows? But we will see. Yeah.